But before we reveal and testify to you of those that were measured and weighed in the wicked balances of deceitful weights, let's go back now for a moment as we look into the book of Revelation, chapter 11, and let us reveal to you who these two witnesses truly are that are found in verses 4 and 5. For hundreds of years, this prophetic cryptogram has been misconstrued by men with their own precepts. For behold, I am here today during this generation to testify to ye, all ye lands, that these very same two witnesses that are found in the book of Revelation chapter 11 and verses 4 and 5 was originally written by Yohanan to be sealed as inanimate witnesses. Now, the word inanimate, spelled I-N-A-N-I-M-A-T-E, inanimate, is defined as, quote, related to nouns for non-living things, such as belonging to the category of nouns that refer to things and concepts considered to be without life, end of quote. So what does that mean? Well, that means that this inanimate things belonging to the category of nouns are also found in the book of Zechariah, that is being described in the book of Zechariah, that were also read in the book of Revelation chapter 11, that was seen in verse 4, that reads, quote, these are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before the God of the earth, end of quote. Now, those are inanimate. The olive trees, the two olive trees, and the two candlesticks are inanimate. In fact, notice how in this passage, all of a sudden, the two olive trees are found. These very same two olive trees were shown to Zechariah, the prophet in the Old Testament, by the very same angel that was showing them to Yohanan in the book of Revelation, the angel of Yahweh, whom first woke up Zechariah out of his spirit of deep sleep in order to show them to Zechariah, who then, after he shown them to Zechariah, this very same angel showed them to Yohanan. Now, neither Zechariah nor Yohanan, however, had any idea who these two olive trees were. Now, this is proven in the book of Zechariah, chapter 4. So let's go back over to the Old Testament that people are ignoring and do not want to read. And let us look in chapter 4 of the book of Zechariah, and let us read, begin at verse 1, and see if there is a connection to this with Revelation. And that reads, begin at verse 1, quote, and the angel that talked with me came again and waked me as a man that is wakened out of his sleep. And verse 2 says, and said unto me, this is the angel talking to Zechariah, asking him a question, what seest thou? And I said, I have looked, and behold, a candlestick, all of gold. Now this is the angel asking Zechariah, what did he see? And Zechariah said he saw a candlestick, all of gold. Zechariah goes on to say that with a bowl upon the top of it, and his 7 lamps thereon, and 7 pipes to the 7 lamps, which are upon the top thereof. And verse 3 says, and two olive trees by it, one upon the right side of the bowl, and the other upon the left side of thereof. Verse 4 says, so I answered and spake to the angel that talked with me, saying, what are these, my Lord? End of quote. Now see, Zechariah had no idea who the 2 olive trees were, who the candlestick is, or what the candlestick that was of all of gold, had no idea what this bowl was all about, which are all inanimate. The inanimate candlestick that is seen in verse 2, that originally came from the Hebraic word that Zechariah used, that is pronounced menorah. Menorah. That's the Hebraic word that was originally used by Zechariah to describe this candlestick that's being brought to life today. And menorah means in Hebraic, it means in English, one standing as an eyewitness in the temple of Yahweh. Now, the inanimate noun, quote, gold, end of quote, that Zechariah described, that also appears in the same verse, came from the Hebraic word zahav. Zahav, that is spelled in Hebrew from right to left with the characters Zion, Hey, Wav. And zahav, that's being brought to life from inanimacy at this end time, that means, quote, a precious people of Yahweh that are standing as a measure of wheat. Praise Yahweh. End of quote. They also represents a measure of weight that was weighed by Mika Yahweh. The same word, zahav. That is the gold that is inanimate, that was seen in the book of Zechariah, chapter 4. Also, the bowl, this inanimate bowl that is seen in the same verse, that is found upon the top of all these living eyewitnesses that are now standing as eyewitnesses in the temple of Yahweh today, even as his precious people, who have all been measured by 1 gerah of weight, as 1 measure of wheat, is a symbolical bowl. That bowl is a symbolical bowl that is found in Zechariah chapter 4. And that bowl represents the globe of protection that was used to preserve all these witnesses until this end time, this very end time. And the inanimate 7 lamps thereon, and the 7 pipes to the 7 lamps is progeny. That's progeny. That represents the offspring or children of Yahweh that will be fed perfectly every day of the week in perfection. There are 7 days in a week. The number 7 appears. There's 7 lamps, 7 pipes. So that's 1 for every day of the week, 7 days in a week. And 7 is the perfect number that lasts forever. Now the 7 pipes are used perfectly for each day of the week to pour the oil into the lamps, those very same lamps. That also represents the minds of the children of Yahweh that will be lit by the light of the sun, that's S-O-N, who is, of course, Yahweh ben Yahweh, as an everlasting light. This oil is made from black olives that is used to anoint the heads or minds of black Judah until they runneth over with supreme wisdom. Their minds will run over with supreme wisdom of this oil. Their minds will run over with pure knowledge, supreme knowledge, and understanding. All of that is needed to rule the entire planet Earth. Reference the book of Psalms, chapter 23, verse 5. Praise Yahweh. That is the connection. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over up with pure knowledge, wisdom, and understanding from Yahweh. That's the olive oil from the olive trees. This is only one of several reasons why it reads in part in the book of Revelation, chapter 6 and verse 6, quote, hurt not the oil, end of quote, etc. And furthermore, the inanimate two olive trees that is found in verses 3 of the passage of Zechariah chapter 4 that are found by the candlestick, all of gold, with a bowl upon the top of it, are the very same two olive trees and two candlesticks of Revelation chapter 11 and verse 4 that represents the very same tribe of people that Daniel saw in Daniel chapter 12 and verses 5 through 7, who were standing on one side of the river as one witness of the God of the earth, and is now standing on the other side of the river as one witness of the God of the earth. That's two witnesses on both sides of the river that were all clothed in sackcloth, just like how I am dressed now in sackcloth on this side of the river. Just like I am now on the side of the river full of dead bodies of Jacob. Even with the same man on this side of the river who Daniel said he heard that was dressed in linen in Daniel chapter 12, verses 5 through 7. These two inanimate two olive trees that are now being brought to life today are the very same two candlesticks of a tribe of people of Israel who was seen upon the waters of the river by Daniel in Daniel chapter 12. They're all a connection. These two inanimate two olive trees that are now being brought to life is the very same one candlestick that was measured by Micah Yahweh as one measure of wheat that was sealed and hidden in Babylon, allegorically under the name Zerubbabel, as a tribe of people of Israel that was born in Babylon, such as we were born today in Babylon, even your host born in the modern Babylon today that is known as the United States of America. We were all born. That would be the same in simile as those who was born in Babylon back then, who are born today in this modern Babylon. That's simile. That is spiritually called also in the book of Revelation, Egypt today, where also our Lord, Yahweh ben Yahweh, was crucified by judicial murder in U.S. courts. Now, this is proven also in the book of Zechariah chapter 4, verses 6 through 9, which reads, as I quote, "Then he," referring to the angel of Yahweh, "answered and spake unto me, saying, This is the word of Yahweh unto Zerubbabel, saying, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith Yahweh ben Yahweh of hosts. Verse 7 says, who art thou, O great mountain? Before Zerubbabel thou shalt become a plain, and he shall bring forth the headstone thereof, with shoutings, crying, grace, grace unto it. In verse 8, moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, the hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this house. His hands shall also finish it, and thou shalt know that Yahweh ben Yahweh of hosts hath sent me unto you. End of quote. The noun Zerubbabel that appears in this passage came from the original Hebraic characters, reference Strong's H2216, your Strong Concordance, spelled from right to left, Zion, Resh, Beth, Bath, Lamet, pronounced Zerubbabel. And this Hebraic word means, quote, sown or born in Babylon or Babyland as the first colony to return to their own land after their captivity. End of quote. Isn't that mind-blowing? That such knowledge can be found in what you thought was an ordinary Hebrew name, Zerubbabel, that was sealed by Daniel, and is now being revealed in the book of Revelation. These are the two witnesses of Revelation, chapter 11, which are also the oil and the wine that is found in the books of Zechariah, chapter 4, verses 11 and 12, which reads, quote, then answered I, and said unto him, what are these two olive trees upon the right side of the candlestick, and upon the left side thereof? In verse 12, and I answered again, and said unto him, what be these two olive branches, which through the two golden pipes empty the golden oil out of themselves? In verse 13, and he answered me and said, knowest thou not what these be? Even you false prophets and witnesses of the worlds, do you know us? Do you knowest thou not what these be? You who profess to be wise, false prophets. And I said, no, my Lord. And so should all of you false Jews, you false prophets and false witnesses of the world. You don't know. So why profess and pretend in front of your congregation and your admirers and your followers that you know?